Hi students, welcome to today's class. Today I am going to discuss about Unit 2 programming methodology. So under Unit 2, we are going to see the first chapter, that is algorithms and flowcharts. So under algorithms and flowcharts, we are going to see some examples also for algorithm and flowcharts. And why we need to study these algorithms and flowcharts? Because when you want to do any programming, the initial step is you need to write the procedure. So the step-by-step procedure or process is only known as algorithm. So the diagrammatic representation of that algorithm is only known as flowchart. So after studying this lesson, you will able to understand about the need of algorithm, that is the importance of algorithms and flowcharts, and how you can solve the problems by using algorithms and flowcharts. So real-time problem or any mathematical related problems, no, how it can be solved using an algorithm and flowchart, that you will understand here. And then you will get clear idea about the sequential statements, selection statements, and iteration statements. And you'll finally you'll understand about the finite and infinite looping statements. So iteration or looping statements only, it's going to be categorized into a finite loop and infinite loop. That also we will see with example. So let me move on to the first topic, that is introduction. So what is meant by algorithm? Algorithm is a step-by-step process of solving well-defined computational problem. So already one defined problem will be there. That means we will know set of inputs and we will know the logic, and we need to find the solution for that given problem. Okay, so the well-defined problem we are going to solve by using a step-by-step process. That is only known as an algorithm. So in practice, in order to solve any complex real-life problems, if you want to solve, first we have to define the problem. First we need to understand and what kind of inputs we need to take for the problem, and steps we need to find out. Okay, so we have to define the problem and then design algorithm to solve it. That means designing means what? A drawing a diagram. Okay, so here diagram means a flow chart. So we need to design algorithm to solve it. So diagrammatically we need to represent the algorithm in order to solve that real life problem. So writing and executing a simple program may be easy. So when you are writing a small program with the 5 lines or 10 lines, it will be easy. However, for executing a bigger one, each part of the program must be well organized. It should be well arranged or ordered. So every part of the program should be ordered if it is a bigger program. So in short, algorithms are used to simplify the program implementation. Okay, so normally algorithms are used for simplifying, that is it will reduce the program implementation. Program implementation tasks will be simplified. Okay, so that it will be easier for a person who is writing a program, no, so he will be easily implement the program. He can write the code easily when after he writes the algorithm. Okay, so the next step is making a flowchart. So after you write an algorithm for a given problem, you need to do the next step as drawing a flowchart, that is making a flowchart. It is a type of diagram. Flowchart means what? It is a type of diagram that represents an algorithm or a process showing the steps as boxes of various kinds. Okay, so boxes of various kinds are going to be represented to you as a diagram. That is the same process or algorithm is going to be represented in front of you as a boxes of various kinds, and their order also you will see by connecting them with arrows. So the boxes of symbols, no, are going to be various kinds, are going to be arranged in order after connecting with arrows. Okay, so we are going to connect all the boxes of symbols with the various kind with the different arrows. Okay, not different arrows, we will connect it with arrows, number of arrows, and we will based on that arrows we can understand the order of the process. Okay, so then the flowchart will be converted into a program code. So afterwards, so after writing an algorithm, we will draw the flowchart. After drawing flowchart, we can easily convert the flowchart into a program. Okay, so for a lengthier program, normally we'll go for algorithm, and then we will draw the flowchart, and then we will write the code. Okay, programming code. So next, algorithm, again they have explained in a different way. It is an effective method expressed as a finite list of well-defined instructions for calculating a function. Function means here a task or some work. So we need to complete one task. starting from an initial state and an initial input. So from the initial state and afterwards we will get initial input. After that only we will complete the given problem. Okay, so it is having a finite list of well-defined instructions for calculating a function. The instructions describe the computation which will eventually produce the output. So instructions only, it is going to describe the calculation and it will produce the output when it is executed. Okay, so these instructions only are going to produce the output to you when it is going to be executed. So we can use algorithm to solve any kind of problems. However, before writing a program, we need to write the steps to solve the problem in a simple English language. So before writing a program, we need to write the steps to solve the problem in a simple English language. So algorithm will consist of a set of instructions in simple English language only. So this step-by-step procedure to solve the problem is called the algorithm. So this kind of step-by-step procedure to solve the problem is called as algorithm. So this is also another definition for algorithm. Next, we will see one example. So let us take one simple day-to-day example by writing algorithm for making Maggi noodles as a food. So if you want to prepare a Maggi noodles food, you need to follow the following steps. So this is the task for you. So this is a problem, like a real life problem, like that you can consider this the Maggi noodles preparation. So in order to prepare this Maggi noodles, what are the steps you need to follow? So this steps, no, collection of steps only will make a algorithm. So step 1 is start. Step 2 is take pan with water. Step 3 is put pan on the burner. And then switch on the gas or burner. And then put Maggi and masala and then give 2 minutes to boil and then take off the pan and then take out the Maggi with the help of fork or spoon and put the Maggi on the plate and serve it and then finally stop. So these are the steps you need to follow in order to make a Maggi noodles as a food. Okay, further, the way of execution of the program shall be categorized into 3 ways. So we can, in which way the program execution is taken place, it is going to be categorized into 3 ways. First one is sequence statements, second one selection statements, third one is iteration or looping statements. So in which way the program executions takes place, according to that we can categorize a set of statements in the program as sequence, selective and iteration or looping statements. This is also called as a control structure. Okay, so first we will see what is sequence statements. So in this program, all the instructions are going to be executed one after other. Okay, so in sequence statements, how the program instructions are going to be executed. So all the instructions are going to be executed one after other. Okay, so for example, we will see one algorithm, write an algorithm to print good morning message. So first we need to start. Okay, we need to initiate and then we need to print good morning and then we need to stop. So these are the steps. One after other we are executing these statements. Next one example we will see related to maths. Okay, so write an algorithm to find area of rectangle. So in order to find the area of rectangle, first you need to know the formula. What is rectangle you need to know. So rectangle consists of two equivalent opposite sides and only two sides are equal. Okay, left and right will be equal and top and bottom will be equal in the rectangle. So we need to take a length and breadth and store them as L and B. So length value and breadth value you need to take for rectangle and it should be stored in variable name called length should be stored in capital L, breadth should be stored in capital B. So next we need to multiply L and B and store it in area. So if you multiply LB, that is length and breadth, so this L and B multiplication only is known as logic. Okay, so in order to get the area of a rectangle, so the formula is L into B, L multiply B. So for this, in order to perform this L into B, you need to know the value for L and value for B. So that's why in second step, we are getting the input from the user. That is the rectangle's length and then breadth of the rectangle we are getting, and then we are multiplying it and we are storing it in a area. Then we are going to print the area and then we are stopping the process. So these are the steps we need to follow in order to write the algorithm to find the area of rectangle. So in the above mentioned two examples, that is first and second example, no, all the instructions are executed one after the other. These examples are executed under the sequential statement. So next one is selective statements. So the way how the program execution takes place, now according to that we can categorize sequence, selection and iteration statements. Now we are going to see the second type of statements, that is selective statements. So in this program, some portion of the program is going to be executed based on the conditional test. If the conditional test is true, the compiler will execute the some part of the program, that is true part of the program is going to be executed. Otherwise, it will execute the other part of the program, that is false part. So example, write an algorithm to check whether he is eligible to vote. That is, if a person is eligible to vote, he should have an age more than that is equivalent to 18 or more than 18. So more than or equal to 18 years old person only can able to eligible to vote. Okay, so this is the logic, this is the condition. So according to this condition, after checking the condition, we will execute, he can eligible to vote, and in else part, no, if it is wrong, if the person's age is less than 18, so automatically we need to print the statement like he is not eligible to vote. So like that we need to print the statement. So for that we will see the steps. Okay. So the first step is start. Okay, first step is start. Second step is take age and store it in age. So we need to have only one input value here. So we need to check only the age of the person. According to the age of the person only, we are going to execute the two statements. That is, one is true part and another one is false part. So after checking the age value, if the age is greater than or equal to 18, so greater than 18 and equal to, it should be equal also or greater than 18 also. Okay, so if the age is greater than or equal to 18, then go to step 4. That is, he is eligible to vote. You need to print and go to step 6, that is stop. So after printing eligible to vote, automatically we need to stop the process. Else step 5, that means print not eligible to vote, then automatically it will go to step 6 after executing step 5. So these are the steps you need to write. So here one conditional statement is there. After checking the condition, it is going to here, and if the condition is true, it is going to step 4. If the condition is false, it is going to step 5. So that time when it is going to step 5, step 4 is going to be ignored. Okay, so we are not going to execute this fourth statement. Okay, that means some statements are going to be skipped and some are going to be executed based on the conditional test. Okay, so that is known as selective statements or selection statements. So according to the condition, we are going to select some statements for execution. Okay, so next example we will see. Write an algorithm to check whether the given number is positive or negative and 0 also. So here three conditions we need to check. That is two inputs we need to take. Okay, sorry, two numbers we will take, either positive number, negative number, and three type of input values we can take here. Positive, negative, and then 0. You can pass input as 0 also. So three values, no, three type of different values we can pass, either positive number, negative number, 0. For all these three, we are going to check one condition, true part and false part. Okay, so now we need to start the process. Second step is take any number and store it in n. So only one number we are taking. That number we need to check whether it is belongs to positive category or negative category, or it is actually 0. Okay, that three things we need to check here. So check n value, that is if n is greater than 0, then go to step 5. That means number is positive. Step 8 we need to go. Okay, that is after printing positive, no, after printing the given number is positive, you need to stop the process. Else go to step 4. We need to check the value whether it is less than 0. If it is not greater than 0, then automatically we need to go to the category called less than category. Okay, so whether it is less than 0, we need to check. So if it is true, then we need to print number is negative. Otherwise, it should be 0 only. So we need to go to step 7. Okay, step 7 we need to go. So here two conditions we have checked. One is greater than 0, another one is less than 0, because here three type of values we need to check. Okay, whether the number is belongs to three categories we need to check. In order to check these three categories, we need to have two conditions. That is, one is greater than 0. If it is false, go to less than 0. Again, if it is false, automatically the number will be what? 0 only. Okay. Otherwise, if it is greater than 0, you print it's a positive number. Okay. No need to go to step 4. Okay, after printing this answer positive, you can directly go on to step 8, that is stop. Either if it is false, go to here, that is less than 0, we need to check. If it is true, automatically go to step 6 and print it, and then go to step 8, that is stop. Otherwise, if both the conditions are false, then automatically the passed number, that is the input number what you have passed, is 0 only. So go to step 7, print the given number is 0, and then stop the process. So like that, in order to check the whether the given number is positive, negative or 0, you can write the algorithm in the following way. Okay, so in the above mentioned examples, that is this 2 examples, all the statements are not executed, but based upon the input, some portions of the algorithms are executed because we have true or false situations in the program. So in the above 2 programs, if you have seen, based on the input, okay, input and the condition, the statement, some portions of the statements are getting executed, some are going to be skipped. Okay, next type of statements is iterative statements. Okay, in some programs, certain set of statements are going to be executed again and again based upon the conditional test. So according to the conditional test, some set of programs are going to be executed based on the conditional test.